Welcome back. You're watching Credlin. I'm Rowan Dean. There is mounting fury inside the New South Wales coalition following Environment Minister Matt Kean's appointment of former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull as the New South Wales government's climate czar, with grassroots Liberals up in arms over the former Prime Minister's anti-coal stance. As the coalition fights to hold the crucial seat of Upper Hunter, vacated following the resignation of Michael Johnson, Turnbull used an interview on ABC Radio to call for a ban on new coal projects in that state. For more on this...
Do you agree with this call from the Australia Institute for a freeze or moratorium on coal mining approvals in New South Wales?
Absolutely. I think it is out of control. There are mines being approved which would have capacities vastly in excess of the demand for coal that exists. There is an extraordinary devastation of the landscape in the Upper Hunter.
This bloke's unbelievable. For more on this, I'm joined from Sydney by social commentator Prue MacSween and the Executive Director of the Menzies Research Centre, Nick Cater. How are you both? Prue, how are you?
Very good.
Very well.
Nick,
thanks.
well,
Happy Easter.
And happy Easter there. They left us an Easter egg, Prue. I don't know if I'm going to eat it or not. I don't know if it's for all the hosts to share or not. But anyway, we'll find out. Prue, Gladys Berejiklian says she expects the coalition will lose Upper Hunter. What's your prediction?
I think she's 100% right. Gladys has shown us that her judgment, certainly in her personal life, has not been very good. Her judgment by allowing Matt Kean to install Turncoat Turnbull in this role and to allow the Liberal Party to drift so far to the left is going to make her in a very skewed position. And what she's doing is betraying every conservative, true blue Liberal voter. She's betraying the jobs, the workers, the miners in the Hunter area and elsewhere, and she's relegating us all to be in the dark. If she pursues this ridiculous theme that Matt Kean is driving, this so-called progressive, this moderate, who clearly has, influences from Photius and other vested interests, and I think Turnbull has as well. And it would be nice to know what his family's associations are in the renewable area. But Gladys has lost the plot, and all the traditional conservative voters are looking elsewhere. I know this one is, the One Nations, shooters, fishers are going to romp it in as far as I'm concerned. And Gladys is very, very lucky that she's got, and she's counting on this, that she's got such a pathetic state Labor Party. But she can't count on the fact that people are going to teach her a very, very strong and hard lesson.
Well, Prue, we don't know what Malcolm Turnbull or Matt Kean's conflicts of interest may or may not be. They may have none, they may have some, we don't know. But Nick, why is a former Labor Prime Minister cheering for the death of an entire industry and the tens of thousands of jobs that depend on that industry?
Well, it does, and exports, Rowan, as you know, and royalties that help the people of New South Wales so they pay less taxes and get better services. All those things are at stake if you start putting limits on the coal industry on this ridiculous level. I think Malcolm Turnbull's comment that there's no demand for this coal is crazy. Look, people wouldn't be building coal mines if there wasn't a market for them, and as we know in India, in Indonesia, elsewhere across Asia, there's a massive demand for coal which will continue at least till the middle of this century. So I think this is a very unhelpful comment. It's a sort of comment you'd expect may go down well in the eastern suburbs, but not in the Upper Hunter, not amongst working people. I think the only redeeming factor here is that he said it on the ABC, and I doubt if many of those coal miners in the Hunter Valley are tuned in.
Heard it. Quite right. They're too busy watching Sky. Go, you good guys and men and women. A Lismore man who refused to wear a face mask, Prue, at a shopping centre, has been charged after he allegedly attacked a security guard, police officers and bystanders. According to police, a 22-year-old man lashed out after being stopped by a security guard for not wearing a face covering in line with public health orders. Now, Prue, I'm absolutely 100% behind obeying the law at all times, but there is a pretty fundamental contract between the governing and the governed that laws make sense. I'm sorry, but with one case in the entire state of COVID, some bloke not wearing a piece of tissue over his face does not warrant that kind of heavy-handed policing, in my opinion. Do you agree?
Well, Rowan, I wasn't there. We weren't there. We don't actually know. He was quite aggressive. We don't know what his circumstances were. You know, there are so many people around now who are roided up, iced up. I'm not suggesting this guy was, but clearly, you know, he was making a conscientious objection. I suppose he has the right to not wear a mask, but I understand from the reports that I've seen that he was very aggressive and bolshy and turned to sort of fisticuffs. And, you know, in that case, I think that, you know, he was offered,
of course. If there was violence, absolutely, if there was violence. I guess my question, Nick, is more to do with are our laws, you know, is the public getting tired of some of these laws, I guess would be another way of phrasing my question.
Well, I am, but clearly a lot of the public aren't, because I was in Melbourne yesterday and I got told 3 times by various members of the public to put a mask on in the airport. You know, I don't know where these people come from, but they're very authoritarian. But this mask thing is odd, isn't it? There was a case in the United States, I think I read, where a man was arrested for not wearing a mask in a bank. You know, in the old days,
right,
if you did wear a mask in a bank, you get arrested.
Exactly.
But, you know, it is frustrating when there's no cases around. It really is frustrating.
Now, I just want to move on a bit lighter note. A new Star Wars comic featuring 2 non-binary Jedi has been released in honour of Transgender Day of Visibility. I used to love Star Wars, and let's be honest, Carrie Fisher was every teenage bloke's fantasy. But is this just harmless, Prue, or is there more to it?
I think it's a great marketing theme. I think they're looking for opportunities to flog more books or, you know, more movies. And, you know, this movie tends to explore human themes. Maybe it's time for them. I mean, what do they have? Is this Star Wars, Chewbacca, or Star Trek? I'm not sure which one.
It's Star Wars. It's Lucasfilm Star Wars. I think it's a comic. Lucasfilm's actually said, Nick, we support trans lives. That's great. And we are passionate and committed to broadening our representation in a galaxy far, far away. Nick, are they taking the mickey here?
Rowan, I should be able to think of a really funny line here, but I can't. I just think the whole thing's so ridiculous. But it is, I'd say in the world of fiction, it's harmless, right? It's when you start trying to impose these rules in the real world, like in women's sport and things like that, that it really, you know, turns into something that's problematic. But you should ask Christian Porter. True. He's the biggest Star Wars fan I know.
Well, that's a good tip. Thank you very much. Now, listen, it is Easter. We're all about to rush off and have our Easter eggs over the weekend. A new consumer guide has come out by a mob called the, hang on, here they are, the Mighty Earth Be Slavery Free Gang have decided to put out your guide to buying Easter eggs to purchase, I presume, slavery-free Easter eggs. Now, the rating system put together shows all sorts of different categories by which they've arrived at these decisions. Now, you'll be top of the list. Woolies will be pleased to know they're great, so no slavery there. Well done, Woolies. But then you get lower down the list, Aldi, then Kmart and Target, not looking so great. Then you get to the bottom of the list. There's Coles and I think New Zealand's Foodlands. Ooh, bit of slavery apparently there, or something similar. Bit rough. Prue, will you be consulting this guide before you buy your bunnies?
Well, sadly not. I'll be chucking that chocolate down my throat as fast as I can. But I understand why some companies take note of this. You know, the provenance of goods, the social responsibility of companies. They're all being caned by so many people these days that they're just covering their backsides by doing all this. None of us support
exactly. Nick, I won't trouble you. I won't trouble you about your Easter eggs, but I'm sure you'll choose wisely. Prue MacSween, Nick Cater, thanks. Have a great Easter, and thank you both for your time this evening on Credlin. Cheers.
Thanks, Rowan. Happy Easter.
Thank you, Rowan.
Thank you.
Bye.